Alright, I'm going to do a quick overview for Loopmancer. I already posted a review on the Steam forum, however they have fixed some of those things. So I'm just going to get into the gameplay loop here. I still think after the patch this game's got a lot of problems, but seems like they're pretty adamant on fixing it. So basically this is like a...
Zishu, how's everything going? Something came up in the office. Can you come and check on this?
So basically this is like a Groundhog Day roguelite, where there's different paths that you can take throughout the same day. There are different endings. Apparently there are like 6 or 7 endings. I've managed to get 2. All of them seem to be crazy depressing so far. I'm going to assume that there is some kind of ending where you solve all the problems and there's not some really morbid, depressing ending. If that's not your thing, I'm not really a big fan of depressing endings myself. You might want to just skip the cutscenes. I have not been able to find anything on how to get the best ending. It doesn't seem like the game really has anything about that. In any case, the main way that you're going to upgrade is through this memento system. I kind of have to explain all this now. This might seem a little bit out of order, but you actually can't go back to this part until you die, or you finish a complete run. So basically, these are like all the characters in the games. There's also mementos. You can get them randomly from completing challenges or beating bosses. And there's a number you get from endings as well. So these will give you a lot of the cores which you use to upgrade the skill tree. So you can see there's apparently 6 endings. And I probably will try to get that next one, but I'm not really sure how it works. The run length is actually pretty long. It probably takes about an hour to finish the game, roughly. So, if you care about completionist stuff, I would recommend waiting until somebody has a guide. Right now, it's kind of just up to you. So as you can see, I got 2 endings there. So for your skill tree, first, when you start a run, you want to pet the kitty. It's not letting me do that because I was playing earlier offline. But if you pet the kitty here, you actually get a random buff. So you want to do that every time you start a run, be it a fresh run, or this is kind of like a New Game Plus run right now. As you can see in the upper right-hand corner, in the upper left-hand corner, I have a bunch of pluses and stuff. Those are basically buffs that I got from the past 2 endings. Now you will keep those until you get killed. So you can keep speed running the game and try to do the hardest ending, which I don't know how to do yet. Or if you die, you'll lose all that stuff. So here's the skill tree. So this is basically just stats. These are your little heals, your Estus flasks, whatever you want to call them. This is a health upgrade, and this is a stamina upgrade. Pretty self-explanatory. This actually won't matter that much if you get good at clearing the game, but it's nice to have the security. Money is actually way more useful in this game than a lot of other roguelites, where it becomes useless really fast. You can use it to upgrade items. You also need it to unlock the items in the first place. So, if your run goes south, it's nice to grab these. Now, combat is kind of a mixed bag as well, I would say, because a lot of this stuff is things you should already have. The bosses become exponentially easier once you have this parry, but the parry itself is also completely useless against more than one enemy at a time. So basically, 90% of this game is just fighting, mooks and stuff. It's not useful unless you're fighting one-on-one. But when you don't have this, the game feels way worse. It's a really weird balancing. Like, this is basically the ground pound from Dead Cells. I can't even remember a time I used this. This is all stuff that you should just have by default, but they want you to grind for it. Hopefully they'll expand upon this later on. Right now, it's kind of like, it doesn't really feel like too much stuff in here is things that you shouldn't already have. But luckily, once you get good at the gameplay loop and you start unlocking it's hard to say it, mementos, you'll actually get this stuff pretty quickly. Like this last run, I got like 20 of the cores, so I unlocked a pretty big chunk of the skill tree. Alright, let's go to the detective office. I think there's two problems with this game's story. The first is, for a game that's, you know, roguelike, there's a lot of talking and cutscenes that you have to skip. But also, it's like morbidly depressing. It seems like, at least so far, I've gotten 2 of the, I guess there's 6 endings or 7 endings or something. They're morbidly depressing. It feels like you don't accomplish anything, which is kind of crappy for a game where you die over and over for a chance to beat the game and actually get an ending. I'm sure there's probably some kind of ending where you break out or whatever, and things aren't completely crap, but right now, the story's not really worth watching.
I died a few hours ago.
Quit joking.
This case, if I die, everything starts all over again.
Yo.
And I wake up
You just said
because I have to find the best ending.
There you go.
I'm going to go to Longsheet.
He's died about like 20 times on my playthrough at this point. Okay, so this is the starting stuff that you have, but like I said, if you manage to accomplish beating the game, you will keep your existing stuff, but you can go here and you can talk to this
Come on.
nice man here. Nice to see a dark-skinned guy in a Chinese game. You can upgrade your various equipment. So basically in this game you have a melee weapon, self-explanatory, gun, self-explanatory, tactical gear, which is like, it can be ammo, it can be drones, like this. There's a bunch of other things it can be. It can just be like a glass bottle or something. And then skill chip is basically your big cooldown ability. So you can upgrade all of these for various different buffs. Like this, the cooldown duration is lowered, and then the duration is longer. And on this, overkill counter is actually really important. We'll get into overkills later, but basically, if you don't get hit for the amount of melee hits that it says there, like for example, this is a legendary class weapon. If I do 12 melee hits without getting hit myself, I can activate an overkill, and that will basically move you a pretty large distance from most weapons and kill a lot of the enemies. At the very least, it will knock them down, so you can still kill them. So melee combat in this game is fortunately pretty one-dimensional. You just have one S string with everything. I was definitely hoping it would be more expanded, but basically just going to be trying to juggle all your stuff. You have a gun as well. Alright, so we're going to go through the first level, so you can see a little bit of the gameplay loop. This game is still frustrating to play, but honestly, not knowing how to get the endings, I think, is kind of dumb. They should give you, like, some kind of hint, instead of just playing blindly, which is kind of what I'm at right now with this game. Okay, so if I wanted to unlock this, I could, but this game's kind of got the Dead Cells problem of the more stuff you unlock, the harder it is to get the stuff that's good, or the things that you at least like playing with. That's definitely a problem Dead Cells had before they added custom mode, so I really don't want to unlock that, to be honest, but basically, you can spend your coins here and unlock it. There are challenges that you can complete that are randomly generated. It'll be stuff like land a bunch of parries, kill a bunch of enemies without getting hit yourself, using an overkill, using guns, etc. There's a lot of objectives that you can get, and you'll get bonuses from those, but you can also get mementos from those as well. So if you have the time and you feel like you could risk the health loss, it's actually just really good to go for those because it will allow you to unlock more things in the long run. Now, in terms of variety, there there are like a decent amount of level chunks, but not as many as something like, you know, 20XX or Dead Cells or something. Where you can go like a really long time without seeing a new chunk. This game is definitely not set up like that at all. They're not kidding when they say this game is story focused. Like, there's a lot of story, and unfortunately it's kind of obtuse how to get it, so if that's what you're interested in, this might not be the game for you unless you find a guide, which as far as I know there doesn't seem to be one at the moment. So when you find these buffs, these will actually be in the same place every run, so regardless of if you die or on a New Game Plus run like this, you're always going to go to those spots with the buffs because they're just going to make you stronger overall. So we're going to go for a skill chip cooldown. I don't have like the best one right now, but ideally I can maybe find a legendary tier 1 this run if it gets far enough. These are basically just crap weapons. You don't want to take those really. Nothing there worth upgrading. Challenge right there. Exploding barrels in this game are nowhere near as potent as they are in most video games where they just cause a bunch of chaos. Those are like the worst objectives you can get because you basically have to hit them to like near death and then hope they go by the barrel. Actually does not do that much damage. So not like your standard game with guns in it where you shoot an explosive barrel and everybody just keels over.
You think so? Of yourself. I'll get you in the end.
I'm not really wanting to unlock a lot of this stuff because I'm actually getting to the point where I'm finding a lot of the endings and stuff, so I like don't want that. Here's a legendary weapon. Let's go ahead and see if we can upgrade this actually.
This purchase. Greetings, Sashi.
Hi there, fuck.
Oh, so you actually noticed. They are also
Permission?
the Dragon City Arms, alive citizens.
Why would they do that?
This is not upgraded, so kinda don't want to take it right now. I'm gonna go with this. But basically, when you unlock an item, there's a chance that it can appear both at the beginning with Ray, or it can appear in the store. Also, if you find a terminal that was supposed to have it, I think it will actually appear there as well. So, definitely beneficial to unlock those.
Try running again and I'll break
boss
your
time.
damn...
Trying to get a parry here. Hold on. Oops. Never mind, I killed him. Basically, the parry is a mixed bag. You flick down on the analog stick. What this allows you to do is do this little SWAT thing that he does. If you hit a melee enemy with it, they will freeze for a while, so it's very good on bosses. A lot of the bosses have like at least one melee attack that you can bait that will allow you to parry and get at least like one full combo off depending on the length of the combo of the weapon you're using. But in mob fights, mook fights, whatever you want to call it, it's basically useless. You're never really going to want to use it because you have no invincibility frames during it for some reason. So you end up in these situations where you want to use it, but it actually can actively get you killed. Okay, so I live in Bakersfield, California. This game is very accurate to the pedestrian experience. I think people here do not know how to drive. I know this game is supposed to be like Chinese cyberpunk setting, but definitely relate to these crazy drivers. I'm sure the developers would like to know that. They've probably never been to California. Know that accurate depiction.
You think I'm afraid of you, Zishu? We'll see who's more scared.
Let's see if I can get up there. There's another upgrade. Probably have to do a double jump in the dash. Oops. Gonna hit diminishing returns with the upgrades eventually, but theoretically you could just keep playing the game on the same character for like a really long time and probably have like double the stats and everything. There's no RNG in this game in terms of where the upgrades are, it's just what's on them. So once you memorize the locations and you've been through the paths multiple times, you pretty much will always just have a set amount of buffs.
Zishu, Wei Long, do you need me to repeat our intel on Ditch Village or...
I have all the intel I need.
Ditch Village...
Alright. We'll go here this time. Okay, so one thing you want to do that this game, like, never tells you as far as you know, you want to go up here and talk to the CEO or president or whoever it is. Go up here.
Sure, I saw the loss. You don't need to fill me in on the details.
Thanks, Director.
So he will, after every level, when you come back to the detective agency, he will give you an option for more coins or more cores. You're definitely going to want cores more when you're starting the game, because it will allow you to kind of fill out the skill tree and make the game a little bit easier. But I'm sure once you unlock everything, the cores are going to have a lot less effectiveness. So it's nice that you can come here and he'll give you a little allowance, so to speak. And you can either save that for weapon upgrades or weapon unlocks. So let's see what Mr. Ray's got here this time. He's basically got a bunch of junk. He doesn't really have... This is like the only good thing he has. But if you want, you can always take a new weapon and come back with it here and upgrade it. That way the next time you find it, it will be fully upgraded. So that's basically the gameplay loop. I'm not going to play any farther because I don't know where the hell the next ending is. There's probably a lot more information on this game on like Chinese forums, but this is a Chinese game, so I'm sure there's some fellow hardcore gamers in China that have figured out how to get it, but in terms of English-speaking information, I can't find out how to do it, so I'm going to go ahead and stop there. That's basically the gameplay loop. The only other thing I will mention is that the only thing that makes you lose your current loadout is if you die. And you pretty much die at the end of the endings from what I've seen, because he does not get the correct loop. He doesn't get the right chain of events to actually make things not terrible. So even though that happens in the endings, you'll still keep your stuff. So ideally, the first run or so might be difficult, but then you can kind of start to find your build, and from there, you can upgrade your weapons, you know, if you find something you like, or you can just unlock more things. And that way, if you have to start from scratch again, at least you're going to have this stuff maxed out, and you can hopefully try to find a better build overall. Now, they did increase the chances of him having stuff that's not complete crap, so I haven't really seen him have anything here so far, but According to them, they did that, so I guess unlocking things will have a little bit more of an impact now. When I first beat the game before they did the first update earlier today, it was really hard to find anything you unlocked. A lot of times it would just be junk like this, which you don't really want to be using when you're actually trying to go for the endings, because the endings have different final bosses and they vary greatly in difficulty, so you don't want to be going in there with complete junk. It definitely felt like it had the same problem that Dead Cells had before they added custom mode, where you just get a bunch of junk and unlocking things was like counterproductive, because you found the things that were strong, or at least you found the things that you liked playing with, but you unlocked more stuff, it made it less and less likely that you could find those things. This game had that problem. They're saying that it doesn't now, but I haven't really done a full run since they did the patch. I only did one, actually, so I don't know if that's the case, but it seems like they're making some welcome changes. I'd say main unfair things in this game would definitely be the ranged guys, or they come from the school of Team Ninja, or Modern Ninja Gaiden, where they can like shoot you from across the map, and they never lose aggro. Their AI never disables or anything. The parry is relatively useless. The bosses feel really janky and a bit unfair unless you have the parry. When you have the parry, as long as you actually learn their movesets, you will always have an ability to at least get some damage in guaranteed. A lot of times you can even kind of get them in a little bit of an AI loop. But before you have this, you just feel like crap, and the skill tree in general just feels very underwhelming. It doesn't feel like anything, barely anything in there is something you feel like you shouldn't have to start. But in this game's defense, it does have a lot of endings. It does let you carry over your character. When you beat the game, you don't start with a fresh character like most other roguelites. So it does have that going for it, but it just feels a little bit unsatisfying. You unlock stuff in the skill tree, and it just feels like it's mostly just stats or things you should have at the start. Maybe they will expand upon that later, but I've only beaten the game twice, and I already have like most of the stuff in there unlocked, so it's probably going to get really boring. Probably mostly try to find all the legendary weapons and just try to make like the perfect build with them, and then go through and try to get the endings. But right now it's very obtuse. I've actually read a majority of the dialogue, or some of the dialogue at least, and it doesn't really seem to give you any kinds of hint or indication of what the proper direction to go is. So I would recommend waiting for a guide. Maybe wait for a couple more patches. It seems like they're listening to feedback. They're very receptive to it, at least. So maybe things will get unjankified later. But the experience does get better when you unlock the parry. But the parry itself is very unwieldy. It's awkward to use. You can also deflect bullets in this game, like a Jedi with a lightsaber, but the bullets are so fast and they do so much damage, and they put you in like hit stun from like the Avengers game, where you do like this 3-point landing and you're completely immobile for a long time, and it can make you fall down and stuff. It doesn't feel practical to use. The ranged enemies are already too dangerous and too broken to begin with to really allow them to be alive long enough to try to do the parry. I definitely think that's one thing they should fix next. The ranged enemies are really unfair. They suck a lot of the fun out of the game, which is common for melee action games, but here, I'd argue they're about as bad as the incendiary shuriken guys at Ninja Gaiden. Anyway, that's the end of my overview. I hope that's a decent explanation of the gameplay loop. I might actually do some full runs of this later, but I'm kind of trying to figure out what the hell I do for the endings before I really take this game farther. So we'll see how that goes. Thanks for watching.